You're listening to Jim and Mike Talk. Recording at the, did you say?
7
Studios in beautiful Washington, New Jersey. And now, here are your hosts, Jim and Mike.
Hey everybody, this is Jim.
And this is Mike.
And we are back.
Jim and Mike Talk.
And we are on show number 13.
Lucky 13.
And it is a Halloween podcast. Our featured segment, we have a special guest in the studio, and it's my friend Darren Auck, who I've known a long time.
Darren in the house.
And we talk about horror movies. Then we end with some horror trivia. But before we get to those segments, we are starting with Odd Songs.
Odd Songs, a great segment we started just not long ago, and we want to continue. Mm-hmm. Choose an odd song, one that's just really things that make you go,
Yeah.
And this one really makes me go,
Mm-hmm.
So, Jim, what's the song?
And what better song or artist by Alice Cooper? This is a song called Millie Billie. And this was off his From the Inside album from 1979.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had this album. I was 14 years old. And I remember this song.
And I just want to mention, a lot of people don't know this song. You know, like listening to songs in the 70s. This one did not come up because I did not have Alice Cooper albums like you did.
Yeah.
And did it get airplay?
I don't think it got airplay.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of people
don't even think it was a single.
Yeah. So a lot of people won't know this, but it is notable.
So the song was, believe it or not, written by Bernie Taupin, the writer for Elton John.
Well known for decades with Elton John.
And Bruce Roberts, he's another songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure this album was produced by David Foster. I know this song was. So David Foster, Celine Dion, Air Supply. You don't think of Alice Cooper.
Right.
So besides Alice Cooper singing on this song, there's a woman by the name of Marcy Levy.
Right.
And she's mostly known, you might not know her name, but she worked with Eric Clapton.
Right. Great song. Well known. Lots of airplay. The Core.
Yeah, The Core.
8-minute song. It rocks. It's just a beautiful song. And that's where I first heard Marcella.
She sang on Wonderful Tonight, Promises. So when you hear a female voice with Eric, that's her.
Great voice. Really goes along with Clapton's. And it goes along well with Alice Cooper.
So this song starts off with Marcy.
Right. And I want to mention that it's so interesting. It just starts right off without any instrumentation. You just hit play, and it starts right out with her saying Billy.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought that was interesting. Instead of a lot of songs, they'll have an interlude. You'll start out with a few notes, and you get a feel and sing. So I thought that was just boom.
What we noticed was it's very low. I don't think this album has been remastered.
It was only the first 30 seconds. The first a cappella chorus was really low, and that's a little bit strange, too.
Yeah,
in the
and then it gets louder.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't tell you why this song is odd. So,
go ahead.
Millie and Billie, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, but apparently Millie had a husband that they got rid of. So,
yeah, and we'll get to the details of that later.
Yeah, they killed him off in the song.
Let me read a quote from Rolling Stone. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So back in 79, Rolling Stone reviewed the album, reviewed the song, and I quote, "If anyone could pull off a concept album about life in a sanitarium, it's Alice Cooper, the man who turned dead baby jokes into high school national anthems and made a whole career of exactly that kind of comic grotesqueness the new LP promises." End quote.
So with this song, it's a nice ballad, right?
Soft, sweet, slow. Yeah.
But then it builds a little bit. You got guitar and like orchestration. It's like a rock opera.
Right.
And the weirdest thing at the end is, I don't know if it's Alice Cooper calling out Billy's name.
Huh.
And like he's in a cave.
Yeah.
He's like, Billy,
yeah.
you know. I don't know. It's weird.
Probably picturing the lunatic asylum, the sanitarium, as they say in Rolling Stone. Probably trying to picture that. He's probably taken himself there and,
So the chorus is, God made love crazy so he wouldn't feel alone. He was thinking of us. He was thinking of us. God made love crazy so he wouldn't feel so alone. Mm-hmm. Millie goes into events of a night long ago. Driving alone with our guilt well concealed in the trunk of your 68 old.
So I believe that it sounds like they got away with it.
Yeah.
They got away with the crime legally. This is just my supposition here. And yet it drove them crazy because they did get away with it. And, they're not rotting in jail in two different jails. They're together insane. Yeah.
So imagine I'm 14 years old and I hear this song. That's why I said it stood out. The lyrics are pretty insane, of course, no pun intended. But
that is the intention. Let me talk about the video. Jim, you found the video of Bruce Roberts playing for Alice Cooper while Bernie is right there, co-writer. And it's just amazing. I want our listeners to go and listen to that and just look up Millie and Billie on YouTube. You see something from a video from 1978 or 79. And it's just amazing to, Alice is chewing on a pen. He won't stop chewing on that pen.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
You didn't? That was in his mouth. And okay. And he's really thinking very hard while Bruce Roberts is playing. And I checked out Bruce Roberts. He's been, throughout the decades, doing piano and synth pop and other ballads and stuff. Mm-hmm. A great songwriter. Wrote this song and many others. They're presenting it there, and there's definitely lots of humor there going on. And as soon as they are done presenting it and Alice makes the first comment, he says, just very quickly, just immediately says, quote, "A song my mom used to hum to me when I couldn't get to sleep at night." I just thought that, end quote. I just thought that was so funny. And he's picturing it, and he says, "This is really a song that you're writing for stage." He says, "This is we're not writing it from the music up. I'm writing this for stage because I'm picturing." He's basically saying, "I'm picturing myself singing this duet with this female on stage." Yeah. So he can picture that. Bruce says, well, it started out much more tame. There wasn't a reference to scissors and guns. And then Bernie, co-writer, says, well, that's what you call the meeting of three sick minds.
Mm-hmm. And Bernie, don't think he had, I don't consider him a sick-minded person. But,
Well, if you look at all of Elton John's songs and so many that Bernie has written, it's solid, amazing songs. Yeah.
So I was able to contact Marcy.
Mm-hmm. Also known as Marcella Detroit at the time.
And also, one other thing, she was in a band in the 90s, Shakespeare's Sister. They had a hit song with the song Stay, so that's her singing.
That's popularity in early 90s, I believe. Yeah. 91, 92,
it went
93.
to number one in the UK.
Yeah, great.
And she was kind enough, after I told her we'd be talking about this song, to record something for us, talking about her time in the studio with Alice. So we're going to play that now.
Let's hear Marcella in her own words.
Hello there. This is Marcella Detroit, a.k.a. Marcy Levy. How's everyone? I hope you're okay in these mad times. Wish it would stop. But anyway, here we are. So I'm excited to be on the podcast today with the guys. They asked me about my involvement with the Alice Cooper track Millie and Billie and how that came about. Well, in the late 70s, I moved to Los Angeles. It was right near the end of my working with Eric Clapton the first time. And I started doing a lot of vocal session work. Anyway, my label, RSO Records, who put out the Clapton stuff, they put me together with David Foster to ask him to produce some tracks on me for a possible album. Well, we worked on that for a bit. We never put the album out, but I ended up still doing a lot of work with David. He'd call me to do loads of session work with lots of different artists and singers like Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates and Bill Champlin of Sons of Champlin, who went on to work with Chicago. Anyway, one day I get a call from David saying, "Hey, Marcy, would you like to come and sing a duet with Alice Cooper?" And of course, I jumped at the chance. I mean, I grew up in Detroit, so I used to go see Alice Cooper all the time, whenever he played in the Detroit area. I'm pretty sure he's from Detroit. I used to see him play all the time, any chance I got. I loved what he was doing. I loved how rebellious he was. And so I went to the studio, and they started playing me this song. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Literally singing about this love affair between these two mentally ill people in a mental institution, about talking about murdering somebody. When she goes, "Oh, Billy." It was really a lot of fun. And Alice, when I met him, he was just so cool. I'd never met him before, but he was just so cool. He was so down to earth. At one point, I heard him and David talking about playing golf, which I thought was unusual. I mean, I had never played golf before, and I never knew that rock and roll stars did, but, that was wrong of me, I guess, to generalize and have assumptions. But, they were yakking away about playing golf and being on the green and, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was, like, I'm just singing a song with this icon, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. It went really well, really easy. Alice had already done his part, so I just added my vocals to it, and that was it. And it was a fantastic experience. I hope that answers your questions. Thank you so much for including me. Lots of love. Bye.
Infected citizens are allergic to garlic.
You think I'm one of them?
You will be.
It's a perfectly good brain, Doctor. Well, you ought to know. It came from your own laboratory.
Okay, so we have our next segment. We are going to be talking about our top 5 horror films. And I have a special guest with me, Darren Auck.
Hi guys, how we doing?
And
I feel like I'm at home already.
Now Mike is here. He's creeping behind me.
How you doing, everybody? This is Mike.
So these aren't in any particular order.
Top 5.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I'm a list maker, but for me it's a little tricky because I think about the old ones, like growing up with seeing like Nosferatu, the silent movie from the 20s with Max Schreck. That was a favorite. The original Phantom of the Opera, of course, with Lon Chaney Sr. And of course, I'm 59, grew up in the 60s and the 70s. So when I was a kid, what we had was, like the Universal monsters, of course, Dracula,
I find the old black and white films creepier than some of them.
And they're just beautiful.
Yeah.
As an artist, as I got older and a little more knowledgeable, you get to the point where you see the black and white work and you're just like, oh my God, that's just gorgeous. It's an art. As far as the old, of course, Freaks, which was a phenomenal film. Again, Todd Browning, I believe it was. It was actually banned because they actually used, real people with actual physical problems. And, that House on Haunted Hill, I think the original was Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I could list movies forever and ever. Then I think about, Carnival of Souls is an old black and white movie that I definitely recommend. It's creepy as hell. Yeah. And just creepy as hell. It still holds up. It still delivers.
Let's see. Well, one that really stands out, it was the first horror film I ever saw, and it was Frankenstein.
It's a perfectly good brain, Doctor. Well, you ought to know. It came from your own laboratory.
And I remember my dad he had it on TV. I was about 4 years old, and I was hiding behind the recliner. And I don't know, I still like watching that. It's, classic Universal monster film. I have some facts about the movie. Upon its release, in what they called pre-code Hollywood, where there weren't ratings for movies, there's one scene in the movie that was edited out, and it's in which the monster accidentally drowns a girl called Maria, and it was deemed too upsetting. Edited version saw the creature approach Maria after their shared time throwing flowers into the lake, watching them float, and then it cuts to a scene which showed Maria's father carrying her corpse through town. The edited version actually makes the scene seem worse in hindsight, because when he threw her in the water, he actually, I don't know what kind of expressions, Frankenstein could do, but
Right.
it actually seemed like he actually knew that it was wrong.
I remember that scene especially because, we, my age saw it on TV also. Probably we grew up down in Georgia, so we had Shock Theater with Dr. Shock, and Dingbat was the host. Up here, you guys probably had Zachary or...
Yeah, Zachary.
Okay,
Children's
Zachary.
Theater.
And that scene, I remember not seeing the uncut film until like I was a teenager. But yeah, you're exactly right, because the way they cut away, thinking it would make it, I don't know, less horrific.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it made you wonder, like, you had no idea exactly how Frankenstein killed the monster killed the girl.
Because he saw the girl throwing the flowers in the lake, so he thought, I'll pick up the child and throw her in there.
Yeah.
And she drowned.
And in the scene that they put back in where, he was like a kid with her, and he looked down, the flowers are all gone, and you could tell just from, Karloff's acting, his expression, he looked down at her like, well, she's like a flower, and then he reaches for, and there was a couple other cuts, like, for a long time they didn't show on TV where he actually threw her in the water, which wasn't much better. You still wondered exactly how bad it got.
I think the DVD versions have the cut scene.
Right. I think the unknown is even worse, because you imagine all the other things he could have done to her other than picked her up and threw her in the water.
So, and some of those earlier movies, maybe it would, it might have been accidental, but they left a lot to your imagination, whether it was because of censorship or just they knew that's how the human mind worked. That always works better, And
then Frankenstein, 1931 film, and movies after that, he did not speak. But in the novel by Mary Shelley, he spoke. It says almost immediately after his creation, he dresses himself, and within 11 months he can speak and read German and French.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone looking like Frankenstein?
Yeah, I remember, I was a fairly dedicated, voracious reader when I was younger. Now, of course, when it was written, that was a tough read. When you're like a teenager or younger, it's
a short novel too. I think it's like 200 and some pages.
But completely different. And a lot of people don't realize that it's almost like two completely different stories.
And I read that they might have done that because of copyright and to not make it exactly like the novel at the time. I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
And he did speak in Abbott and Costello. He says master, so he could form a word.
Yeah, because in the original, maybe not the original, maybe in Bride of Frankenstein, the second one, was when he came upon the hermit and learned, like good and smoke good. Yeah. But...
And I was always intrigued at how this, Mary Shelley and her husband was Percy, Shelley, and their friend Lord Byron. They were trapped indoors because of the weather. It was 1816. And they passed the time telling and writing ghost stories. And that was one story I guess she had been thinking about, creating a person out of different parts. And she didn't write the entire, novel then.
Right.
But she was 20 years old.
Yeah,
when she wrote
amazing,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, that, as far as I know, that wasn't hype. That was actually how it came about. Like you said, it was like a gathering. They were just kind of hanging out and telling stories, and she, that was the origins of probably the greatest horror story of all time.
And then one other thing, and I thought this was kind of weird. In Kansas, they requested the cutting of 32 scenes.
Wow.
Which if they removed, would have cut literally half of the film. So eventually an edited version was released in Kansas. And in Ireland, the film was banned on February 5th, 1932 for being demoralizing and unsuitable for children or nervous people.
Check your nerves at the door. Your nerves don't come in.
If I remember correctly, I believe it was the original Frankenstein was the first one to use it's normally attributed to like William Castle, who used to do these gimmicks for his movies. And I used to think for the longest time that he was the one that started that we have a nurse at the box office, and if we would recommend you buy an insurance policy. Well, I read an article not too long ago that they actually did that for Frankenstein back in 31, which they kind of started that whole hustle. Yeah,
they give you a little a warning.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, this guy stepped from behind a curtain to break the fourth wall and deliver a brief caution to the audience.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember talking to my mom about it. They went to the movie theater when it first came out. She lived in North Dakota, and she said it just scarred her for life, And I think comparatively, younger people or people today, they might watch some of those old movies and like, oh, this is so hokey. But back then, that was like The Exorcist in the 70s. That just freaked
small
people
children,
out.
I think if they, like I said, when I was like 4, I couldn't have been older than 4. And I didn't know what this was. It was on the TV, and it was, seeing Frankenstein, never, being 4 years old. And, even then, I think some kids, I don't know if they still think that there's people inside the TV, when you're like little.
Right.
So,
Seeing it as reality and not something other than reality made up. They're seeing it as reality.
And I probably had some nightmares.
No, I'm right with you, because the Frankenstein monster was, to me, that was the nightmare boogeyman. I'm right there with you on that one.
For me,
and, Dracula was scary, but he was almost too human to be. He wasn't in Frankenstein, the Monsters League. The Mummy, he was kind of boring because he shuffled. I'm like, even as a kid, you're like,
get away from him.
Hell, I can run away from that guy. But the original Phantom of the Opera, the unmasking scene, oof, that messed me up. That was terrifying.
So you want me to go on to my next one?
Sure.
I don't know if you've seen this one, but I'm a big Vincent Price fan. So this was 1964, Last Man on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Infected systems are allergic to garlic.
You think I'm one of them?
You will be.
Now, this was written by Richard Matheson, who, it was, the book was called I Am Legend, which, that's the movie with, Will Smith. They kept the title for that one, but that was the third.
Let's not mention that one.
Yeah. So he wrote 15 Twilight Zone episodes, including Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. And I think he was born in New Jersey.
That's what I remember. I'm a fan.
I want to say Allerton, New Jersey. I don't know.
Yeah. my memory, good luck, but I think, yeah. But that's a classic. I'm the same way. Like Vincent Price, had to see everything he was in, whether it was campy or not. Mm-hmm. And that was absolutely terrifying. And I remember being a kid, and it's like the afflicted people, they weren't quite vampires. No. They weren't quite zombie. You weren't. I think part of the terror was you didn't really you didn't know what they were. But
Now my wife was a big fan of this movie before I even heard of it. But we're talking, many years ago, and the DVD I have, I don't know if there's a better copy of it, but it's pretty grainy. But that makes it more frightening, I think. Now, Richard Matheson, when he wrote the screenplay. Now, at first when I read this, I thought that someone else wrote the screenplay and he didn't like it, but he wrote it and didn't like it, and he was chose to be credited as Logan Swanson.
I didn't know. That's a cool little bit.
Yeah. And then they went on to make, the Omega Man, which I think is pretty similar to this one. Yeah. And they go back to the original character's name, Robert Neville, because in Last Man on Earth, his name's Morgan. Okay. Or his last name's Morgan. And then Will Smith plays Robert Neville in I Am Legend. Oh, okay. So I don't know why they changed the name. Well, Richard Matheson had to change the name of the...
Yeah. Now, I don't mean to slam the newer version. I've only seen parts of it.
I don't like the Will Smith.
Yeah.
And I have not seen the Omega Man.
Now, Omega Man, Charlton Heston was the lead.
Yeah.
And especially, I'm guessing, mid-70s, he was more of like your action hero up against the afflicted, where Vincent Price was more like a scientist. I guess Charlton Heston was also a scientist, but he was muy macho.
Well, he was an army colonel and scientist in the movie. Yeah. So like we said, they turn into zombie like vampires. It's weird because the vampire aspect, the only thing in the movie is the garlic they're afflicted by. And you don't really see them sucking people's blood. They sleep during the day, but Morgan goes out during the day, right? And he's looking for these people. But when he approaches them, they wake up. They there
were a lot of the tropes there.
So they're not sleeping very deeply. And he makes his own wooden stakes. So this is going on for 3 years when the movie starts. And there's things that are questionable with the gasoline. Right. Gasoline will only, I don't know if you know, like, how long gasoline lasts.
I don't know.
Maybe a year, if that.
Yeah, and then it would probably
So this is 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I think he's got a generator in his house or something. And there's this big tanker truck outside the city where he fills up gas cans. And that's how he lights this pit on fire. He keeps the fire going.
Because I haven't seen this one.
He's stabbing the bodies and throwing them in the pit. And this is what the government was doing before he started doing it. And then there's a discussion between him and his friend. You have a flashback. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of arguing, like maybe we would argue today about the virus that's going between a scientist and, I don't know what position the other guy. And they're showing
it'll go away when it gets warmer.
They're showing a newspaper. And I don't think it's come to the United States at that point. It's killed 100 so far in Europe, and they're concerned about it. Right. So. And then the creepiest thing, his friend shows up. He's one of the vampire zombie, and he chants Morgan, and they're beating the house with pieces of wood. There's like random wood out there.
Yeah, if I remember, it wasn't even like they were necessarily trying to break in. They were just,
well, that was in the script. Beat on the house with wood. That's what they were doing.
And then the most intriguing is this woman that shows up, and at first he thinks she's one of them, but she has the virus, but someone's developed a serum that keeps it at bay. And then towards the end of the movie, or a little bit later, he figures out to mix his blood with the and then
right.
he puts the garlic up to her face, and she's no longer nauseous. So she said it makes her nauseous. That's what she said
I'd
before.
forgotten that.
The bushels of garlic.
Yeah.
And then the garlic, he goes to the grocery store, and he goes in a back room, and there's like 3 bushels of garlic. Now, it's been 3 years. Like, I think it would be more interesting if he was growing garlic.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, you find 3 bushels.
And he takes
Well, he's a scientist. Couldn't he figure out how to somehow make fuel out of garlic? Never mind. I'm stretching it here. I'm reaching. Okay.
So I won't give away the ending, but that's one of my favorites. I like to watch that around this time.
And think about, like, Matheson's story, in the films, how many hits owe to that. Like, I mean, come on, Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these things are the same. I mean, I know that some cynical people say that there's only so many plots out there, but yeah, hopefully they credit him for pretty much a genre,
Yeah. So my next film is Dawn of the Dead.
that's a favorite. I think of it as like horror comedy, even though there is some really horrific stuff in it.
And was that 1960? Was that 60s? 1969.
First, there was Night of the Living Dead, which was, of course, the start of it all. The black and white in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this was the second,
and that's the sequel that got. It had a lot. It's a great movie. I mean, it's funny. It's horrible.
I think
the
it's one
effects
of the
are
more
just
popular
shocking.
ones.
Yeah,
in the series, it is campy,
and it had some great commentary about just like consumerism and how people are. It's brilliant. Yeah, good choice.
Well, I was amazed. There's a scientist that. Well, let's start from the beginning. It starts out in a TV station with a reporter, Francine, and I think it's her boyfriend. No, I don't think that's her. I think it's her friend, Steven. And he's got a helicopter. I don't know where he got this helicopter. Or maybe it's the news helicopter.
I think
probably.
Right.
Yeah. And he wants to get out. There's chaos going on in TV station. They're on live TV. 2 guys are arguing with each other. I don't know if one is... a scientist, but we're arguing about this plague that's taken, another plague. But now, later on in the, I'm going to jump towards the end, but they're watching. There's still broadcasts going on. I don't know how long let me get to they take the helicopter and they find a mall. So that's why I like this movie.
Yeah.
If there's a zombie apocalypse, the mall, think about it. And this is a big mall. This was actually filmed in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. As far as I know, the mall is still there. And I think people go there just because this movie was filmed there. So the mall was open. I don't know if this is a typo. It said the mall was open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I don't see a mall opening at 6. So they would film while the mall was closed. So this was a working mall.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine setting up. Now they have all night.
And
That's
they had motorcycles going through there and everything else.
Yeah, the car.
Yeah.
I don't think they smashed up too many things.
I don't think so.
But, things are, if something's thrown in the fountain there, or they have to clean all this up, make sure it's, you don't want any, dummy bodies laying around. I don't know.
But yeah, that low budget, I mean, that's how they had to operate, yeah.
The cast, or the extras, who were the zombies, they would, go out, I don't know if they were in they probably weren't in their makeup, but they would go out at night and get drunk, and, so they had to deal with...
Improve the zombie act.
Yeah, someone stole the golf cart and did, $7,000 worth of damage, so they were a little out of... But I also read they got paid $1 a day and some donuts, so maybe they were angry.
Yeah. Well, that one, when I got more into really analyzing these things, that's probably the first time I saw Tom Savini's makeup work.
Yeah.
And now he's one of the
in the
masters. Right.
Well, it's funny because he's a zombie in one scene. It's really short. They drive a truck into him, and you see a blood splatter on the windshield. He actually spit blood onto the windshield. And then he's also in the motorcycle gang at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. So he's a zombie first, and then you might not notice it's the same person, and he's the makeup guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He also did the stunts. There was such low budget, they had to do their own stunts. And he falls into the fountain. He falls over the rail, and they said he hurt his back and his legs, and he had to ride around in a golf cart.
And he still had to do the makeup work.
Yeah,
and everything.
He still had to work on the movie.
He, real nice guy. If you get the chance to meet him at the shows, he's a great guy.
Back in the 90s.
And I guess he's got like I'm pretty sure he's still got a school up and running. And I just saw a clip of a show that he's got like a little museum out by where he lives, which I shouldn't have brought it up. I don't know where that is, but
he's got to live in New Jersey or Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and it'd be easy to look up. But I think they still do tours, and he does have a school that's running currently. Yeah,
he's like not special effects, but like a makeup, with the creature, and like in Friday the 13th, the first one, Jason comes out of the water. He created that.
Yeah, that was one of his.
He'll create masks, and the other funny thing is there was a photo booth in the mall, and the people in their zombie makeup would go in there, and they replaced those outside photos with the photos of.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. I remember, pretty young when I saw that the first time when it first came out. And the scene, no big spoiler here, the scene really bothered me because these bikers are fighting these zombies, all hell's breaking loose, and they stop to go and get in the picture booth thing and take pictures while all this stuff is. I'm like,
well, also the pie fight. We're not making this up. They're throwing pies in the faces of the zombies. Like, not shooting them.
Like, was there a bakery nearby? I mean,
in the mall.
Yeah, but where are they getting all the pies from?
Some funny scenes.
Yeah, it gets a little.
There's a hockey rink or skating rink, and they're caught in the net of the hockey.
Yeah.
And they're falling in the fountain. Then there's a thing with mannequins. One of them throws a mannequin off the balcony. The other one's looking at the mannequin. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Like, should I eat this?
It's half of a mannequin.
Right. A little tough. The meat's a little tough. Yeah.
But it's definitely on my recommended list. It's a blast.
Yeah.
You speak about it being campy or horror humor. I mean, in the mid-'90s, I went with my friend to see Shaun of the Dead. So what's up with that? I mean, it's totally a spoof of it, correct? Or is it related to it? It's not related to it.
Well, it maybe inspired. I mean, not to speak for the filmmakers, but I don't
really mix comedy with horror.
Right, but I was wondering how Shaun of the Dead relates to Dawn of the Dead.
It's got to be inspired by it, because Dawn of the Dead was probably the first one that
well, it was definitely fun. I remember laughing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a great movie, too. Yeah. And, they did an updated version of Dawn of the Dead. It was in a mall. Mm-hmm. I forget what year, probably around...
It was in the 90s.
Yeah, 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
And that wasn't satirical or humorous at all. I mean, that was some serious nightmare fuel. Yeah, that was a scary movie. That was pretty good.
Dawn of the Dead there's a story too between the characters, and there's between the humor and So my next one, I love Friday the 13th movies. I've seen about everyone, and there's
all 26 of them, or I'm kidding.
You're not far off.
There's 12.
Wow,
and they're supposed to do. I'm waiting for because Friday the 13th.
They should skip 13. Now that'd be fun.
There would be horror nerd riots in the streets.
Yeah. So this,
And nerd isn't a bad thing, okay?
No.
I pride myself in being a nerd, all right?
so this is also campy. Jason Takes Manhattan.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
From 1989.
that's hilarious.
And this is, I don't think, it's not meant to be funny, but it's got cheesy 80s. It's 80s, right? In the 80s.
Definitely dated.
Even
yeah.
starts off with, some cheesy 80s music. The opening scene, they show New York. Typical 80s man gets robbed. And there's an alley with a barrel of green slime. So there's just barrels of green slime back in the 80s.
Well, there
like
wasn't
toxic
much in the way
waste.
of the EPA, so, you could
could've
just
been.
dump toxic
And a rat,
waste anywhere.
they see a rat climbing out of the barrel.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah.
So then I counted the kills in this movie. It's
Counted the
about
kills.
it's 20. So Jason is pretty busy in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot more people. It's
yeah,
Manhattan.
there's some-
And
there's some interesting
you
weapons.
don't have to walk as far. You know?
And there's some interesting weapons in this movie. The first one is a harpoon that he uses.
Are you serious?
And whenever these horror movies back in the 80s, a couple was about to get it on, that's when
Oh, yeah.
the killer shows up.
Right.
And this one starts, Jason is, first of all, they throw the anchor off the boat and it hits an electrical cable. This is at Crystal Lake. And it recharges Jason.
That's how that's how he to me, they all blend together, so I can't
So
remember.
this was a
the
weird one because you have the
details.
couple in the beginning, and I guess they're with this graduating class that's supposed to go on a trip to New York on a cruise ship, right? So they don't make it, of course. Jason somehow finds this cruise ship. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where near Crystal Lake, you could take a cruise ship out.
Well, you got to have a really good travel.
I don't know where
agent.
they're going from to. Crystal Lakes was filmed in New Jersey, the first one. So you have everything in this movie. You got this crazy guy who keeps warning them about Jason. He says this voyage is doomed. He's come back and you're all going to die. He just comes out of nowhere. He's one of the deckhands.
Well, back then
So
you
you'll see
always
him every
had,
once in a while.
yeah, you always had to have that doomsayer guy.
Yeah.
You're all going to die. You're the last ones. And nobody believes him. And then you have the main character's this biology teacher. And he's pretty, he doesn't swear. He's pretty, his niece is one of the students. And her boyfriend is the captain's son on the boat. So most of the students end up being killed, right? And the best one is, this is the best weapon. There's this girl, her name's JJ Jarrett. That's her character name. And she wants to be a rock star.
Of course
She kind of has maybe the Joan Jett hair.
Yeah, JJ Joan Jett.
Yeah, and she's killed with her pink Flying V guitar. I think he stabs her with it.
But you got to
She
give her
goes
credit.
below deck to with her amp, and she's down there rocking, and Jason's down there.
But you know what? You got to give her credit for being a dedicated musician because she had her guitar and her amp with her, even though
I'm
they
going to
were
go
on
on a
this
cruise. I'm taking my
Yeah.
PV amp. It weighs 65 pounds, but I'm going to bring it with me.
Yeah. And the thing is, they don't get to New York until an hour into the movie. And it's called Jason Takes Manhattan. So most of the movie, I don't know how long, maybe that movie's an hour and 40
Probably
minutes.
an hour and a half. Yeah, hour 40.
So more than half of the movie is not in New York. They finally realize that, actually the boat catches on fire. So they go in the lifeboat and they row until they see the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 4 people in the boat, including a dog. The dog's name is Toby. I think he's a border collie. Right? And they're all asleep, and they're even rowing. They're so tired until they see the Statue of Liberty that regenerates them, reinvigorates them. So now Jason somehow swam and followed them, because right after they get up on the dock and they start walking, you see Jason come out of the water, right?
Yeah.
Now he has this obsession with Rennie, her name is, because when she was a little girl, probably like 4 years old or something, her uncle, who is the biology teacher, he took her out on a boat and he's telling her she needed to learn how to swim, and he throws her in the water. That's how he teaches her, sort of like my dad did.
My dad did too.
Same here.
And a young Jason tries to grab her leg. So Jason kind of knows her. So then they're a minute in New York, and they meet up with some thugs who are trying to rob them.
Yeah, well, that happened to me when I was in 8th grade. I was there just for 5-10 minutes. You know, we got lectured, and we all were let loose in 8th grade. Yeah, and I got robbed right away. You know, it can happen.
Well, the 70s was a tough time. Yeah.
This is probably 79. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're being robbed, and Rennie. Some guy wants to, get it on with her, and he's got a needle for some reason. I swear he says that it has cocaine in it, and he's trying to inject her.
Yeah, it's not one of the.
So Jason comes out of nowhere, and you never see Jason save anybody, and he grabs the guy and he jams the needle into, I don't know, his chest or something. And he kills him, and then I guess she runs off.
So he was saving somebody.
Yeah. So now they find a cop. I won't go in the whole thing. Rennie sees a young Jason and crashes the cop car, but there's 3 people in the back seat, and there's this woman, Colleen. I think she's the math teacher. Mm-hmm. You can't see her in the back seat, and they all get out, so it's implied that she died in the car fire. But I swear they had already taken her out of the car. This is like a film flub.
She got fired, or she quit. She goes, that whole cocaine gang thing was so damn stupid. I quit. And they just had to write around her. Yeah.
No, she was in the back of the police car.
Okay.
You see her, right? And then the car crashes, and you can see them getting out of the car, and she's not even in the car, unless she fell under the seat or something. So, and then there's actually a little bit of comedy, violent comedy.
It sounds like the whole thing is.
Yeah, you've never seen this?
I
saw you don't remember
years ago. Yeah, I blotted it out of my.
So this other guy Julius, who knows where he takes off right after they get there. He's on a rooftop now with Jason. And he's punching him in his face mask. The hard face. Mm-hmm. He's punching him, and he tires himself out. And Jason's, just standing there in front, and he says, "Give it your best shot, MFer." And Jason hauls off, and he knocks his head off.
Yeah.
And his head goes flying into a dumpster, and then the dumpster lid closes.
Well, Jason was coked up. He was, he's mellow. And
then Charles, he meets his demise. He's thrown out a window. He doesn't die, though. And then Jason takes him and picks him up and dumps him headfirst into that barrel of green slime, unless it's another barrel.
Now, that should be the origin for the next monster movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there were all these barrels of
green slime.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, eventually Rennie and Sean, they're the only ones left. Jason eventually, if anyone wants to watch this, I won't tell you what happens.
Yeah, let's not spoil this one.
But first of all, Sean early on the boat, his father, the captain, is killed. Like they're unfazed by, and they're just taking in New York now. And then all of a sudden the dog shows up at the end of the movie. Like he's been running around New York. So, but I don't know why. I like that one.
No, I remember that one being goofy, kind of like Leprechaun in the Hood.
I mean, there's a lot
I think
going
was
on.
One of those that was very similar. Now I got to give the original Friday the 13th. I remember seeing that in the theater. I think, I was in high school. And that's a good movie. Yeah. Some of the sequels are, sure, it gets a little over the top. And we did go see the one in 3D.
I remember going to see 3D in theaters.
Which was a hoot,
Yeah, it was. Things are just coming out into, when they're coming out into the theater at you, that was impressive.
Well, they put out a DVD with the 3D glasses, which was awful because they couldn't. It would give you a headache.
That's a tough way.
And I just sold that recently because there's a set with I think the first 8 movies of Friday the 13th.
Oh man, as much as I love horror movies, I got to bail out on that series after a while.
Well, this was I want to say this was number 9, because I think the next one he's in space.
Yeah.
Jason X.
Yeah, they gave him like a cyborg.
300 years
They
later.
gave him like a cyborg update. Yeah.
And then Jason versus Freddy. You know.
That
Krueger.
I'm a sucker for those where they team up, where they fight each other, like, you know, talking about the Universal monster movies when Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. You know, I was in heaven, even though the fight, spoiler alert, the fight was a bit of a ripoff. But the Freddy versus Jason thing, there was a friend of mine says,
that was way over.
A friend of mine who I'm not a tough critic, but like my buddy says, he goes, there was a good movie in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was some neat stuff that could have been cool, but it didn't quite happen, you know. Oh, as far as the Jason movies, I think it started with the old Fangoria magazine, which is probably still some kind of site online. And they had I remember seeing a printed graph of every movie, every kill, broken down into like what weapon was like every single one imaginable. You know, it's practically an encyclopedia, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, now the next movie, Mike might be able to.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Is It?
Oh yes, yes.
Now I'm talking about the new one. I like the original. The original was a TV miniseries, and
the book was terrifying. The miniseries was pretty cool.
Right. I read the book. Jim, you turned me on to it, and a long book, especially for me. But the way that King just develops the characters, I was so impressed, and I was really immersed in it. I mean, I was there.
Yeah,
it was thrilling.
Now this was in 2 parts.
And this is the most recent It.
Yeah, because the miniseries was, miniseries. I don't know how many episodes, 6 or 8. So
I think
you
it
have
ended
2
up being
parts,
like 8 hours or something.
Because you have 2 parts, to the story is when they're kids. There are like 7 kids that all hang out, and it's the miniseries was 1990. And I guess it takes place, the miniseries takes place probably in the 90s. It doesn't really, I don't know, it's hard to tell. Like, because when they're adults, you don't know, if it's supposed to take place like earlier, 60s, 70s, I don't remember.
I kind of remember it being like not necessarily time stamped.
Yeah.
Like when they were, the later on, the scenes, I guess would be considered current day when they were adults. Yeah. Seemed pretty current for the time.
Yeah. So when this book came out, I know Mike probably might be the only Stephen King book you read.
Except for short stories.
But we had an obsession with, seeing clowns and we'd send each other in the mail pictures of clowns.
Yeah, they would appear. This was before all the, nationwide sightings of clowns and stuff.
We were at Wildwood one time, we were under the boardwalk trying to see loose change.
Find loose change.
And there was someone up above yelling balloons. I don't know if he was in a clown costume or...
You didn't want to know.
So as we moved about, he kind of followed us. It's like, there he is again. What's he doing above us? Yeah.
So this is what I found pretty cool. I mean, I think it probably just worked out that this came out in 2017 because in the story, Pennywise, he was called Pennywise the Dancing Clown. He is awakened every 27 years to feed on children. So the last film was in 1990. And the new film came out 27 years later.
Yeah, I think that was planned. Yeah, I think that was definitely planned. Got to look for 27.
So the movie's basically about people facing their fears, which, Pennywise...
Yeah, he was like a demonic entity that could become just about anything and fed off of fear and great monster. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, right up there with the classics. Great character.
And I think the one in the new one he's definitely a lot scarier. People had a problem with him being too scared because the whole thing is he's supposed to, lure children. So you want a clown that looks, goofy and not scares you right away.
Yeah.
Now, Tim Curry in the original, he was creepy looking. I mean, even without the fangs and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
That's pretty dated now, but the movie, well, I won't tell how the movie ends, I guess, but the ending was definitely different than the miniseries.
Yeah, I won't divulge anything, but the ending of the miniseries is pretty much reviled and takes a lot of crap and wasn't great in my own humble opinion.
But Bill Skarsgård, he plays Pennywise, and he actually no prosthetics on the smile. I think that's a creepy smile he has.
Yeah.
So if you want
scary looking character.
But it is pretty scary.
Yeah, I did see the more current one. I didn't see the second one yet.
Yeah, I saw the second one.
Maybe that'll be one of my Halloween treats for myself.
So that does it. I think I covered my 5 movies.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking...
I could come up with like 20 or more.
I'd mention like the old classics. I got some slightly newer ones if we got some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking when you talked about, the horror humor and such, I'd have it even difficult to come up with my top 5. I have come up with some that I enjoy, and maybe they're not exactly horror, but American Werewolf in London.
Great movie.
Creepshow 1 and 2, and then Shaun of the Dead. But, I definitely, we were there laughing at Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan,
Yeah.
And that's the part that I like. I like to, even more than be scared, it's like, what is this scene trying to say? This is hilarious,
Right.
And so I'm picturing American Werewolf in London when they're in the movie theater and talking, and their skin's falling off.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, I just love that
That's
film.
a great movie. Yeah, John Landis. That's
it's different. It just seemed very different than the others that I...
Yeah, good choice.
I don't like the real gory. Even the Friday the 13th movies, there's blood. But it's not like he's ripping out organs and eating them. And,
Yeah.
But what about Creepshow? I mean, you're there to laugh, aren't you?
Yeah. I love Creepshow because that's Stephen King.
I believe I saw it with you. We went to see.
Yeah, and there's 4 or 5 different stories.
Yeah.
And see that
Stephen King's in one of them.
Yeah.
And that, based on the old EC comics, I'm a comic book guy. So, of course, I knew they'd been trying to develop that for years. When I was a kid, I was able to get reprints of the controversial comics that all those came from. The comics came out in the 40s and 50s, mainly the 50s. And those films they're fantastic. As a matter of fact, there is a Creepshow TV show. I don't know if it's Hulu.
Okay.
It's one of them. It's good. I saw a couple different episodes. Just like the movie.
Yeah.
It's worth checking out. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
But the original, it didn't come out also in a novel. I have the comic book, the Stephen King. And it's all illustrations.
Cool.
And it's pretty true to the movie.
Yep.
As far as the illustration.
And they got one of the greatest storytellers / illustrators, a guy named Bernie Wrightson. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he was one of the ones that co-created Swamp Thing back in the comics in the 70s. And just
he did,
brilliant
Cycle the Werewolf, too.
Yep.
There were illustrations.
There you go.
There.
Great stuff.
Yeah. He was a really good illustrator.
Yeah. But as far as Halloween goes, of course, the original Halloween and a couple of the sequels are huge favorites. Halloween was probably one of my favorites. I mean, everybody knows the story. I am one of the ones, I'm hardcore, and I do like the Rob Zombie take on it. It's a little different. I don't see the point of making the same movie over again later on, so it's kind of cool for me. Scariest movie of all time. It's not a Halloween related thing, but The Exorcist, I don't think I'm allowed to cuss on this, so I'll say it messed me up. I remember going to see a movie in the theaters when that was coming out, knew nothing about it. You know, of course, back in the 70s, you know, even if you read the trades, there was, you know, you went into every movie cold. And I forget what the movie was, but I didn't know I knew the book existed because some of the kids in school, I was in like 8th grade, I think, and some of the kids were reading it and they're like, oh, this is scary, you know. And, but man, the previews came on for The Exorcist before the movie.
Wow.
I don't remember what the hell the movie was. The previews scarred me for life. Wow. I didn't, how can I put this? I wasn't ready to even see the movie until I was like in my 20s. It messed me up.
Now, I'm a few years younger than you, so I was probably about 10, something like that, you know. And it was on TV. So it made its way to TV a few years after what you just said. I didn't know what it was that much about it, and my parents probably wouldn't let me watch it. But, you know, it was on and they went to bed or something. Yeah, I'll never forget. That was, I believe, the scariest movie I'd ever seen as a child.
To me, and that, you know, everybody's got their own genres or you know, some people it's ghosts, some people it's serial killers. They get you, you know, almost like real phobias like spiders or ghosts or whatever. But, man, they're just, I mean, it's an unbelievably well-made film, you know, above and beyond, but there's just something about that girl being possessed that even the bad knockoffs, like Beyond the Door, scared the crap out of me. I mean, there's just, so now, I mean, and once I saw it that first time in my 20s, I'm like, okay, I saw that and I don't want to see it again. And then I got to the point where you were curious, you know, I draw stuff and I try to, I'm writing my own books and comics and whatnot. So it's like, well, you got to study the best. And now I can watch it and check out the subliminals and the whole package. And I really enjoy, you know, on YouTube watching
it's always the first time though, sometimes when you see something like that.
It just, you know, I imagine everybody's seen them, but now they have they replay the documentaries where they interview people who like fainted in the theater. It's amazing. I mean, it's cool because you see like life in the 70s in New York on top of how people reacted to
when
that
they come
movie.
out of the
theater. They're like crying and freaking out. If I would have saw that in the theater, I wouldn't be here. I would have died.
It's almost too difficult in 2020 now to do that.
Right.
Probably in the theater.
I believe like the stories, the movies, the visuals get, you know, we get more and more jaded as an audience, especially if you're like a hardcore fan. I think it is scarier. I don't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but there's these two guys, they're like probably 19, 20 years old. And it's all about them viewing these old movies that have a reputation, right? And the guys are likable, and they seem pretty.
I did hear about it on the news, right?
Yeah, they're pretty pretty good with analyzing films. I sound like an old man. Oh, these two punks are watching these movies and they're talking about them. But one of the but one of them was The Exorcist, and it's hilarious because they show their reactions throughout, you know, the highlights, the real tough
I think
scenes.
kids still can be scared.
Oh yeah, and you could tell like they went into it like, oh, I've seen, you know, scary movie parodied that. You know, they think of it as almost like something to parody, but man, you could tell they were shook up. You know,
the one that scared my son was Annabelle.
That was scary
in the theater.
Yeah,
and that came out good 3-4 years ago. So he would have been like 13.
Yeah.
And we've taken his friends, took them to see it. Some of the stuff,
those are scary.
But I remember showing my son The Birds, which isn't I don't think it's that scary.
I watched it on TV.
And my son,
I remember seeing it.
and my son was like maybe 10 or 11, and he was laughing through the whole because of the birds look so fake.
Yeah.
You know, he was not scared.
Yeah.
Why are they attacking?
Yeah, it didn't. Well, that's just it. That one hit me. Well, you know, yeah, I'm like you. You know, I saw it as a kid on TV, but you're like. It really, of course, that was the hook. It really bothered you because you didn't know why this was happening, and it could happen because
but it could happen to you. You could have a bird peck your eyes out.
Yeah. So, but you'd mentioned before, Jim, as far as like what, you know, do people get scared now? I think most of the ones I brought up, it's like when you're a teenager, like that's when the movies really hit you because I think you're almost smart enough to kind of be critical. But these days, I still devour horror movies. I mean, currently, I would recommend The Witch. It's kind of a quiet, creepy film, but it's scary. Heredity is another one that it's scary. I mean, not like gore. I hate what they've dubbed torture porn. You know, like Saw. The Hostel movies. Yeah, I mean, Saw I can kind of get a kick out of the game aspect.
Did you hear Did you hear about the new Saw? With Samuel L. Jackson? No, I'm not making this up. It's Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. And when I went to watch the trailer for it, in my mind was him saying something MFers, right? Well, they show in the trailer a scene. He says, "I'm not playing no MFer games."
So you guessed it. You got it, man.
Yeah, that's me hitting the table.
Yeah.
That's great. See, that works.
And I think they're detectives or police officers. And it's not called Saw. It's not like Saw 7 or whatever.
Right.
I forget what it's called now.
Oh, that
might be called Splinter or something like that.
Well, anything with Samuel L. Jackson, I'm there. Yeah. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that comes out next March or April or around there.
Nah, that sounds cool.
So anything else?
Darren, do you have anything else on the lists?
I guess I would say honorable mentions, and this gets back to like the 70s. Poltergeist, I think, still holds up. You know, the effects, you know, I know younger people check it out now. They're like, that's not so great. The original Alien, the Alien movies are, of course, wonderful. Pet Sematary was a good one, and that was...
I thought
that was one. That was really good, and one of Stephen King's best books. You know, but that pretty much took care of my list. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about the Universal stuff because
Well, I love like Dracula.
You can't go wrong with the classics.
I have all the DVD sets that they came out with, and just those 50s movies. The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yeah. Radiation Was Not Your Friend. Giant ants, giant mantises, giant spiders. I love that. Well, that's not necessarily. Actually, them was kind of scary.
Well, they were afraid
the giant
nuclear
monsters
war
was great.
I guess, on everybody's mind.
And as far as Halloween coming up, guys, I'll plug a movie called Trick or Treat. Everybody pretty much already knows about that one if they're at all into horror. It's a great scary anthology that's cool as hell, has a great new monster archetype character. Check out Trick or Treat. If you guys want to check out my weird stuff,
tell us where they can find you.
I don't have my site up and running, but I'm very active on Facebook, and my name's Darren Auck.
Spell it?
Darren, and the last name is Auck. That's where I do a lot of my communication. I take on commissions, and started this week. I tend to do something every Halloween called Scaricatures. I draw caricatures of people, and then I I turn them into monsters. Or, vampires, aliens, superheroes. I'll turn these guys into something.
We might have a new background for
Hey, there you
podcast.
go. Yeah, chase me down on Facebook.
Sounds great.
Definitely check out Darren. I've known Darren a long time. I don't know how many.
Oh,
it has to be like 20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
So, definitely check out Darren's illustrations. And
all right. So, Darren, before you go, I do want to test your knowledge.
I'm ready.
You and Jim on movie trivia.
Okay. So that's coming up. Okay, we're going to do some horror trivia between Darren and I. And Mike will be reading the questions.
I've got the cards. These cards were sealed, and so I know that Jim wasn't reading them for bedtime.
He wasn't studying.
No, he wasn't studying.
Like our one friend who studied all the answers to all the Trivia Pursuit questions.
Yeah. I had a friend that did the same thing.
We couldn't even play the game with him.
And then he got mad when we busted him on it.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a little bit like Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the points don't matter.
And we're doing five each.
We're going to raise our hand or take turns?
Oh, I was going to ask you a question and see if you got it or not. And if you don't know, then we'll go over here and see.
So we're going to trade.
Right, you get a point.
Yeah, and then you can keep score at home. I'm not. And then I'll ask Jim, and he gets it or not. If he doesn't, it goes to you.
Okay.
So we're going to go with that.
So we'll do 10 total. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do 10 total.
I'm ready.
And if we don't count that either, our listeners can count for it. So, Darren, what 2016 film is about a deaf writer who gets stalked by a masked killer in an isolated house in the woods? Looking for the title of the film, 2016.
Silent but Deadly. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Jim, do you know?
All I can think of is Cabin in the Woods, but I know that's not right.
The name of the movie is Hush.
I wouldn't have got that.
All right. Jim.
Yes.
What was the profession of the main heroine in the 1981 werewolf film, The Howling?
Oh.
Profession of the main heroine.
Wasn't it Dee Wallace? I know the actress. I want to say she was a doctor.
Any idea, Darren?
No, I'm not even going to make a bad joke.
All right. That's good. The oldest profession. So, TV news reporter.
Oh.
I should have known that. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
All right. I'm doing these randomly, but you might be handed one here, Darren. The 1972 version of Last House on the Left was the directorial debut of which director? Last House on the Left, director.
Don't have it.
Jim?
Don't know.
All right, that was Wes Craven.
Oh, man. Sorry, Wes.
Yeah, that's why I thought...
Big fan.
I was giving you a hint because it's a name that I actually knew.
Oh, man.
All right. So this is back to you, Darren, I think. What state does the film and comic book miniseries 30 Days of Night take place? In what state?
Alaska.
Yeah, you got it. All right. Jim?
Mm-hmm.
What actress played Tiffany in The Bride of Chucky? Actress. The Bride of Chucky. And I can't say that title without laughing.
I know her name.
Give me the initials. Again, the actress that played Tiffany in The Bride of Chucky.
The heck's her name? Thinking Jessica.
Oh, it's a J. I'm going to give you that. I'm not giving you the point. I'm just giving you the J. It's J.
Jennifer Tilly.
You got it! Oh boy, I was
ready.
I kept thinking it was Jessica Tandy.
That would have made a pretty wild movie.
Yeah.
All right. It's Darren, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What snack is Tallahassee searching for in Zombieland?
Oh, I know that one.
Searching for
I
the snack.
believe they're Hostess Snowballs.
Nope, they're not.
They're not.
They are Twinkies.
Twinkies!
Oh, how did I screw that up?
All right. It's a Stephen King. Stephen King coming at you, Jim.
Oh,
You know, so...
better get it right.
You better get it. In fact, I should time you on it. I'm so sure you're going to get it right. What was the name of the cat in Pet Sematary?
Church.
You got it.
Good one.
Oh, this is, all right. We were talking about The Exorcist, Darren. The Exorcist was the first horror movie to be nominated for what in 1974? It was nominated for what in 1974?
An Oscar.
That's right, an Academy Award Oscar. You got it. Good job. Good job.
We'll just keep going for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, it's fun.
If they want to do numbers at home, they can do that. But okay, Jim, taking you back to the black and white days.
Okay.
This 1958 film takes place in a Swiss resort town where a mysterious radioactive cloud appears to be the cause of serious decapitations. What is the name of the film?
Decapitation.
Okay.
You know, radiation usually kills you
It
slowly.
came from outer space.
Any ideas?
Topless Holiday. I have no idea.
This is the Crawling Eye, also known as the Trollenberg Terror.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
That's reaching.
yes, that's
Yeah.
I was going to say nearly 100 years ago, and that's not that old. All right. All right, Darren. What type of animal terrorizes Jennifer Connelly in Dario Argento's Phenomena?
Oh, he's a classic. I should know this. A cat.
Gonna have to, if you don't know, you're gonna have to guess an animal.
When I think of Jennifer Connelly, I think of a ferret, but I know that's not right.
All right, it was a
Is
chimp.
there a ferret in Labyrinth or something?
Now they named the animal here, but it's more than just an animal. It's a chimpanzee
Right.
with a straight razor.
You know,
That would be scary.
his movies are a trip.
Yeah.
They are recommended.
No, wasn't there? Who was in Beastmaster? There was a ferret in there, wasn't there?
Yeah,
That's
he
what
had
I'm
a
thinking
pet
of, but that wasn't
ferret.
Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, I don't remember.
So you thinking ferret? You owned
Yeah,
a couple ferrets. You were caretaker for.
Yeah. Terrorizing.
She was
They are
very young
terrifying.
in that Dario Argento movie. Yeah, ferrets are creepy.
All right.
Night of the Ferrets. Oh, sorry.
A night at the.
I think it's me.
Okay. So, Jim, in the 1979 film Tourist Trap, a group of friends are trapped in what kind of establishment? Tourist Trap.
Isn't that Alfred Hitchcock? No, that's different. Tourist Trap. What establishment?
Yes.
It's got to be like a beach resort place. I don't know.
A mountain chalet.
It is a museum.
Oh,
Yeah. Right. Darren, I believe it's yours. A Nightmare on Elm Street. What hangs above Tina's bed? What hangs above Tina's bed in A Nightmare on Elm Street?
a cross?
Going to give it to you. A crucifix.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Crucifix is a type of cross. Tricky question here, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of the sequel to Ridley Scott's Alien?
Ridley Scott's Alien?
Yes, Alien.
It's Aliens.
You got it.
I wanted to make sure you
Boy, he was trying
Alien.
to throw you a curve.
No, add an S. Add an S and get that. All right, Darren. Which actress plays a psychotherapist who enters the mind of a comatose serial killer in the 2000 film The Cell? Actress.
J-Lo.
Yeah.
J-Lo.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, I don't know it. That's
So
excellent.
let's do 2 more.
All right. 2 more?
Yeah.
Okay. 1 more for each or 2 more for each?
Whatever works for you.
2 more for each.
2 more for each.
Okay.
2 more for each. And
I'll go.
let me, okay. There we go. Jim, this is yours, right? Who got J-Lo?
I got
You
you.
got J-Lo.
So it's his turn.
All right, so we're going to do 2 more for each. Jim, machines come to life and become homicidal after a comet causes the radiation storm in this 1986 film starring Emilio Estevez.
Like I'm gonna know Amelia. That's
What?
No, you have the comet. I don't know.
Maximum Carnage.
Oh, you knew that.
Maximum what?
Oh, Maximum
No,
Overdrive.
It's Maximum Overdrive, yeah.
Yeah, I screwed
There's
up.
Maximum Carnage. No, you got it.
Oh,
You
wait,
said-
did you say Stephen King in there?
It is Stephen King.
No.
If you said Stephen
That would have
King,
been
I was
too much.
thinking Stephen King.
I can't believe I called it by a comic book instead of the movie. Oh well.
No, but I gave it to you, and then I didn't give you the answer. You came up with it, so you got it right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is my last one.
He just got it.
Well,
This
technically,
is my last one, and then
All right,
get one more.
All right, so that's
Yeah.
what. Yeah. So, all right, your last one, then he's going to get one after that.
Yeah.
Jim, what actress played the main character Susie Bannion in the 2018 Suspiria? I can't even pronounce it. Suspiria remake.
Oof.
Suspiria?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I saw the original. But
Okay, it's a 2018. So now you got to think about an actress who I know the name of. So this isn't bizarro here. I actually know the name of this actress.
I don't know. Jennifer Aniston. No, she was in Leprechaun.
I have no idea.
It's Dakota Johnson.
Never would have got that.
Dakota.
It's Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
Don
Johnson.
The actress formerly known as
Is
Dakota
that's Don
Johnson.
Johnson's daughter.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. Learn something new every day.
There you go.
Even at the end of a horror podcast.
And she was
It's all about education.
in 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
That was her.
One more for you.
Okay.
And this is it. It's not an easy one. I was going to give you the easy one here. The answer is Halloween. I'm not giving you that one.
Okay.
So don't talk about Rob Zombie and Mike Myers and Halloween. 'Cause I'm not going to end on that one for you, Dan. So forget randomness. I'm giving you a special question. After dying in the electric chair and making a deal with the devil, Horace Pinker continues his murderous ways in what 1989 film directed by Wes Craven?
Shocker.
Shocker! You got it, man. Well, you guys are good.
That was fun.
All right.
Well, Jim, Mike, I want to thank you for having me on board. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, and Darren, it's been great.
We will
great
have
having
you back.
Yep. Great having you here.
Intro and exit music by the band 99%.
Today's show was produced and edited by Jim Thatcher. You can find Jim and Mike Talk on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and their host site, Podbean.
Music going into our featured topic today and into the trivia, created by Mike Rush. We'd like to give a big thank you to Marcy Levy for her recording talking about Millie and Billie. I'd like to thank my good friend Darren Auck for joining us today, and if you want to find out more about his caricatures, you can find him on Facebook.